Welcome back to the Social Distance Podcast, guys. I know it's been a very long time since our last show. I think our last show was in March or something like that. So
March 2021, was it? Thereabouts.
Yeah. But we've been at a bit of a crossroads. This is a slightly different intro, slightly lower tempo than normal, but we've been at a bit of a crossroads with the podcast of late. Obviously the season's well into the swing of things, and George is preparing for the Tour de France. He's currently at a training camp with the rest of the team. I've been busy with the Ardennes Classics, all sorts of other bullshit excuses.
You know what it is? Cycling's become way too professional. And it pisses me right off because 10 years ago, you'd have miles of time, even as a rider, whereas now riders are so you're under the pump with bloody presentations and strategies and bloody winning races at Flesh.
So Jonesy and I, we had a discussion, and we sort of came to the point that we had two decisions to make with the podcast, and we were always striving to have the three of us here, which is very hard to do given our schedules, George's races, Jonesy's work, and then not to mention on top of that the time zones. So we decided, okay, we can go one of two ways. We can either stop the podcast, which made Jones and I feel sick to our stomachs because we love it. We love doing these shows. Or we can continue the podcast, and George can be on the podcast whenever he's available. He's not at a race or he's not at a training camp. Otherwise, we do the show with just Jonesy and I, or we get a guest on. So that's the decision we've made. We're going to try to do it as often as possible with the three of us, of course. If George can't make it, we'll get a guest on, or you might even just see Jonesy and I. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it back to bi-weekly, like we were doing all through last year, with just a slightly different format. But I think it should still hopefully keep you guys happy. So we started off this week with a great guest. Obviously, like I said, George wasn't here, so we had Mitch Docker on the show today. We talked about the Giro. He's going to be commentating on a few stages in the final week. We talked about his experiences at the Giro this year, of course. We talked a little bit about his brand life in the Peloton. So and we just had a good catch up with Mitch. So I'm sure you'll enjoy this episode. And we'll be back again in 2 weeks' time with George. Hopefully, if he's not around, we'll get a guest on, or we'll work it out. But we will be back bi-weekly now with just a slightly different format. So thanks for persevering with us, guys.
That's enough of the bad news, mate. The good news is we've got to give something back to launch this thing. And it was so popular, the deal that we racked up with NordVPN. And, we've told NordVPN about your story getting hacked by Tiga Tawari, who was flogging crypto and all these sort of internet issues. And they've come back on board, Bills, for an exclusive deal for listeners. You go to nordvpn.com/social distance, and they're going to give you a huge discount off your NordVPN plan. You're going to get 4 additional months for free, and it's risk-free because Nord have got their 30-day money-back guarantee. And that means that if you're in New Zealand and you're getting blocked out because you want to watch stuff in the UK and we've got the Tour de France coming on and you want to tap into all that stuff, that's what NordVPN's for. You can unlock and watch content in any region all around the world, or say you don't want people to know that you're in New Zealand for, well, let's say there's a lot of listeners that would want that service. Just flick on your NordVPN and say you're in, Uzbekistan, whatever.
Exactly.
It's
so use
win-win.
that. What is it?
NordVPN/social distance.
Get on it.
And you get 4 months free. And as we said, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you go Jonesy and Bills full of shit, George isn't on today, so he's exclusive. You get money-back guarantee. So it's win-win.
Thanks for persevering, guys. I hope you enjoy the show with Mitch.
Let's just run the intro and wing it like we always do and see what comes out of it.
Let's get ready to rumble! Front kick.
Just getting bored and dance move chat.
My radar's going pretty hard at the moment. I think we should.
Will you shut up, man? That escalated quickly.
We're going to need to get some more qualified guests on the show, eh?
We've got Mitch on for this episode because George couldn't make it. But I was actually while the intro was playing, I was thinking we didn't even ask George.
That's true. That's true.
Where is Benner?
He's actually at training camp. I looked at his Training Peaks account to know whether he could do the podcast or not, and he can't. He's doing he's at training camp for the Tour de France with the rest of the team. So he's busy today. So we thought we'd get Mitch on. It's been a long time since we've done a podcast, hasn't it, Jonesy?
Scratchy. I'm tipping this will be a real scratchy episode. That's why we thought we'd bring in the Aussie podcast king.
Well, it was well organised from the get-go, this. Jonesy messaged me late last night. Only got on back to him this morning. He said, mate, can you do it right at the big hour? Yeah, bed, bath and dinner with the kids. How about 5 o'clock? Does that suit? I was like, oh, mate, I could maybe make it work. 5:30.
I actually we were talking yesterday about getting someone on, and we ran through a few people, and I said to James, I was like, oh, what about Mitch? Like, be good to get him on. Like, we know that you're going to be commentating some stages of the Giro in the final week, so you've obviously been following a little bit. So I was like, oh, Mitch would be a good guest. And then, but I've got to travel on it. I've got a train to catch in a couple of hours, and there's all sorts of shit going on. And I was like, the problem is, like, we're going to have to ask Mitch to come on at like literally bath time. So I don't know if it's going to fly, but you saved us.
Do you like my response? I said, no, it's good. It gets him out of it.
Yeah.
You just take it easy without the chaos.
Gets me out of it now, but gets me back in it well and truly later on. I'll pay for it hard.
That's right.
Right.
How you find the Giro so far, Mitchy?
It's pretty bloody good. I'm on a tipping competition. Plug of my own tipping competition, the Life in the Peloton tipping league that the Escape Collective has got going. And I'm not winning it, you could say.
Where'd you go wrong? Who'd you go all chips in on?
There's so many different winners this year, which should suit the actual tipping comp, because the way the tipping comp works is you can only pick one person a day. So, for instance, Pog, he's won a few now, but, you got to use your chips sort of strategically and then pick, but a couple of guys like Navarez the first day, I was with a guy who was on my league. He picked the first 4 stages. I was like, mate, how's that even possible? But it's been a good watch. I've been getting up in the morning and watching the replays with SBS in the mornings. Try and watch it at night, but you just end up falling asleep and just not really watching anything. But I've actually really enjoyed the race. I love watching it. Now you don't have to do it. You really do forget how brutal that race is. It just sort of looks beautiful on TV, doesn't it?
Well, I was always thinking, when do you get your stock standard riders complaining about safety in the Giro? And it hadn't really popped up too much early on. And then sure enough, I saw Geraint Thomas was saying, well, they're going to Naples. I mean, whenever it used to go near Naples, you'd hear of mafia, controlling the rubbish. Remember there was
I don't know if that's what he means when he's talking about safety.
No, but I meant like the roads, like there's all oil and slicks and,
I was watching that stage yesterday, and I was actually playing golf with Cam Meyer yesterday, but I caught the highlights like you, Mitch, and that final descent into like 2 or 3K to go, or even the last 7K in general, like there's no plan B there if it rains, because Naples is fucking slippery, like you say. Like it's in the dry, it's slippery. And that descent, if it was wet, like it would have been carnage. Thankfully, it wasn't. But
do you remember Jonesy in 2014 when we raced down right down the south, and they had to cancel that stage because it just rained, but it was just too slippery. Where was that? Where's that bloody stage now? I can't remember, but it just hadn't rained down there for like 4 years, and then we got a tiny bit of rain. They just had to cancel the stage. It was just too slippery.
Yeah, it's crazy, aren't they?
Yeah, but every year, like even like the lights in the tunnels, but the Giro, it's not like they have feedback meeting sessions after every Giro and they go, right, guys, how are we going to make this better? Riders are flag safety. It's a big issue. Let's make some tweaks. It's always like, it's a beautiful race. We keep riding. It's tradition. I don't give a shit.
But yeah. It is a fucking cool race, the Giro, though. I reckon it's the best Grand Tour. But your hands are tied to some degree as well, like not to like jump to play the devil's advocate too much. Of course, there's things you can do.
You've changed, mate. Now that you're a DS,
Yeah.
Whereas Mitch can get the one wood out. What do you reckon, Mitch?
I'm going to play the political game as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think they should just keep flaming on. I'm disappointed there's not more long stages this year. I don't know why they reduced it. I think it was better when they had the back-to-back, classic
240s
style stages. Yeah, like Bills and I know very well this one stage a few years ago when Chavez got dropped from the front group. There's possibly not a harder day in my life, and it was just middle of the Grand Tour, just 240. I think it was 240. We did 6,000 meters of climbing or something ridiculous, and we got in.
It was just a rest day.
The back of a rest day, and the next day I was just like, "Yep, 200 boys, saddle up, here we go."
Oh, there's been some stages, man. I remember that same year, the final stage. Remember that when you had the shit? There's been some classic. I'm sure there'll be some in the final week. But I was just thinking back to what you said about your tipping contest, and I was actually supposed to be part of that on the Escape Collective, but I forgot to sign up. Sorry, I was at a race and I was fucking busy.
No worries.
But I've been thinking about it, and I remember looking through the rules, and it said that you could only pick, you had to pick a winner for each stage, but you could only pick that person once. That's going to fuck heaps of people, because Pog's already won 3. How many more is he going to win? And you can only pick him one day. So there's so many stages that no one's going to win.
Yeah, but you've also you get points as it goes down. So the winner I think gets 100 points, second place gets 90, third place gets 85. It goes down. So you got to just pick the next best. But then you eventually run out of the next best. You got to pick someone who will just get you points. But unless there's surprise winners, you got to get those days as surprise winners. They're the key days to make you win it, like the Navarez day.
The breakaway days.
They're the ones that are impossible to pick. But if you fluke them, then you just get one up, big time one up.
What do you get for winning the comp?
Oh, a bit of pride.
A bit of map kit?
No, it's Escape Collective. It's I think you get a free membership article.
One a week. Perfect.
I actually don't know, but there's just a bit of bragging rights in it.
Good fun, those.
Yeah, you get sucked in.
So how many stages do you reckon Pog's going to win? I've been thinking about it, and given the situation with what happened at Tour of the Basque Country with Jonas Vingegaard crashing, and he's only just back on his bike. I saw a video of him on their social media a week ago, maybe, where it was his first ride outside. So he's missed a lot, and we're 5 weeks, 6 weeks out from the Tour, 5 weeks out from the Tour de France now. So you have to say that he's in a compromised position going into the Tour de France in terms of his preparation. So if I was Pog, I would be racing like a fucking madman for the first 10 days of the Giro, which he has done to some degree. Take as much time as you can up until that point. And once he's almost at that point now, nearly 3 minutes up on second. Once you get to 3, 4, 5 minutes up on second place, then just really take the foot off the gas. This is how I think strategically you do it. And then try to win the last half of the Giro, try to win the overall as easy as possible without touching yourself. Get through it so the last 10 days of the Giro is easy. He's in a situation where he can kind of make the race easy for himself. And then go to the Tour de France and then do the exact same thing with Tour de France. Because if Jonas is at the Tour, he's going to take let's say he comes there and he's at 90%. After 10 days or after 2 weeks, you get into the third week of the Tour, Jonas is going to be back at a good level. So back off in the last half of the Giro, really look after yourself, and then go fucking berserk in the first half of the Tour de France. Take as much time as you can out of Jonas before then, and then hopefully be in a position where you can defend it from there. That's how I would think you would race it.
Problem with your strategy, mate, and that includes the word Pogacar and back off.
I know.
How's that going to work, Mitch? If you're the DS, how are you going to
Vingegaard even going to ride? Is he going to be riding? Is he going to be ready?
Yeah, I don't know, eh?
Would he still ride if he's underdone? Or would he just go, you know what, let her go, win the Vuelta, come back?
I guess it will depend on, Jumbo's still going to try and win the Tour de France, I guess.
Where's Van Aert at?
He's back riding again. He was a few weeks ahead of Jonas, I think. But it depends on, like Jumbo's still going to want to win the Tour de France. So then they're going to have to make a decision like, is Jonas in a position where he can, or where we believe he's going to be close or thereabouts? Or, like you say, do they go, fuck, let's go win the Vuelta with him, and then try to race to win the Tour de France or finish on the podium at the Tour de France with someone else, with Set maybe?
Let's be realistic. The Vuelta is a harder one to win, much more prestigious.
More money, much sponsors, more return.
It's just a nicer race, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I
think he'll be there. But, I mean, fuck, who knows? We have no idea, do we? We're making massive.
Well, you've probably got a better idea than we do.
No, nothing. I don't know. I know anything.
What's
All
the
I know
word
is
on
we've got
the
the
cobblestone streets in G-Town?
I'm actually in Manchester at the moment.
Oh, right.
There's not a lot of word going on up here, unless you want to know about.
It's a piss and rain in Manchester. I saw a video of the Manchester United Old Trafford. There's a leak in the roof. It was like a waterfall.
Yeah, it rained last night. Yeah.
Oh,
What?
there you go.
A leak in the roof on the crowd?
Yeah, like,
they had the whole roof?
in the stadium, and there was just water gushing. And then in Arsenal's change rooms or whatever, there was water coming through the roof. Like the place is falling to bits. And Ronaldo was putting shit on the club when he left, saying, they haven't upgraded the facilities. And everyone's going, piss off, mate. That's a fair sledge. And now there's all this footage of water coming through the roofs.
Maybe that's
bang
strategic.
on.
Strategic against the, who they're playing.
Yeah.
That's it.
But back to Pog, Bills, do you think how much of his racing is driven by directors and how much is just Pog, mate, here's what the course looks like, here's the wind. Do you need anything else, mate? No, I've got it.
I think there's a mixture. I think there's a big drive from the sports director or the management in that team to win a lot. And I think they have aspirations to be the number one team in the world each year, and so I think there is a lot of push from the sports directors or from the management to try to win as many races as they can, which is professional sport, I guess. Like, yeah, you try to win, don't you?
Good to see, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and then I think when it comes to the real intricacies of the strategy, I think there's potentially less of them with Pog, because they know what he can do. They know that he likes to race he's a bit of a gunslinger. He's a smart bike rider, but he's a gunslinger. He knows fuck, I feel good now. Someone else is hurting now. I'm going to go. It's 80K to go. Oh, fuck it. So we've seen all that stuff. So I think there is a lot of okay, guys, we're going to approach the stage like this today. We want to win the stage. So we're going to make sure that, for example, 2 days ago, it's a big breakaway. We're going to make sure we keep them close enough that we're going to catch them, and then Pog's going to try and win the stage. How he wins the stage, I think it's potentially up to him. It was pretty unlike him to wait for the sprint the other day, but I reckon he just made that decision. I'm not going to attack. I'm just going to do the sprint. For many different reasons. Maybe he was feeling like he said in the media the day before. He's like, maybe people think are getting annoyed at me because I'm trying to win every stage, but that is my job, and he's right. But maybe there was a little bit of maybe I won't fuck them up. Maybe I'll just beat them in the sprint, or maybe it was the climb was super, super fast. It wasn't that steep. Maybe it was hard to get away, so that was the only way to do it. But I think when it gets down onto the road, they don't say okay, at kilometer 174 on the steeper section we'll attack. He just fucking attacks when he's ready.
I'll tell you what's annoying me, Mitch, from a media perspective, is they're already trying to give him the name the Cannibal. And it's there's only one cannibal. That was Bernardino.
Eddie Merckx, you mean?
Oh, yeah, that's right. What was Bernard? It was the Badger.
Badger, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were actually trying to play that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
well,
cycling needs better nicknames. We need better taglines. We need better.
What do you call the Pog then?
Pog dog.
Yeah, just got it. There's the challenge. If you, the listeners, if you got any good names for Pogacar that can stick, because they can't give it the Cannibal. There's only one, Eddie Merckx.
The Race Eater, you think?
Well, it's got to be something clever. Like, it just does my head in. And then you see the commentators.
You've come in so hot with this nickname chat. And
you
you're
don't
like,
have any in the bank.
Yeah, you're so steadfast that it's got to be a good nickname, but you haven't even got one to fucking offer.
Mate,
You gotta
we
come in a
haven't
bit.
we haven't done a pod for a while. My prep and research was scratchy at best.
I thought you would have had one straight off the cuff.
The Poganator.
Not bad. Not bad.
I'll leave it with me. I'll punch it into chat GDP.
Comment below if
something.
you got any nicknames for Pog, and we'll share them with him. So obviously the Giro is looking like it's well in the hands of Pog Dog, but the podium race is actually going to be really good. Like that's going to be the race to follow in some senses. It's like it's only seconds in the first week.
Is Thomas doing the double as well?
I don't know, actually. I think so.
I thought that was rumoured around.
I think he is. I think he is going to tour.
He's looking pretty good at the Giro as well.
Yeah. I reckon he'll finish second. And I mean, like...
What do you think of O'Connor when he followed the Poganator up that first climb? I was like, here we go. But then he blew almightily. The question is, does he do that and just go, screw it, I'm just going to see how long I can hang on to him for, or should he have actually played the reserve card?
I reckon, and that was what I was going to say, I reckon G will finish second because he's
playing the reserve card.
Yeah, he knows himself so well. Like even just the way he prepares for Grand Tours is impressive, man. Every single time he's going to a Grand Tour for GC, you see him like 6 weeks prior and you're like, fuck, that's a big call. Like, he's finishing 30th in Catalonia or even worse, and then he goes to Tour of Alps and he's okay, but he's not like amazing. And then he goes to Giro and he's fucking good. Every year's the same. He knows he's so well calculated. He knows himself so well in those preparations. And then when he gets to the race, it's the same thing. He knows he can't follow Pog Dizzle. He knows he can't. We've got to stop this. He knows he can't follow Pog. So he's not going to try. And he knows that he's going to get to the top, from the bottom to the top of the climb faster if he rides it at his own way. And I reckon that's why he'll finish second. And I can see guys like Martinez. I don't think Ben O'Connell will make the same decision again. I think he's learned from that 1K that he tried.
It was still cool though. Like I liked seeing it. I was like, it would have been fun if I could ever had legs like that. Just go, you know what? Give me your best, buddy. I'm right here. Even if it was only for like, I don't know, a couple 100 meters.
Yeah.
For that photo.
I mean, early on, it was the first hilltop. It was stage 2 of the Giro. Like, it's like there's no harm in trying it. And I mean, with the exception of the extra time he probably lost, but but I think like Martinez and those guys are kind of maybe potentially more likely to try.
They're talking about Bardet rolling back in. What is he? I'm looking at it now. 7 minutes down.
No,
he could claw that back.
I could do it nipply in 2016, mate. You're never out of it. Have a second rest day.
They could do a Pereiro. Oscar, 45 minutes down, just rolled back, got the yellow jersey.
That's it.
If Bardet was the one who could follow...
Who's 45 down?
If
Yasha Sutherland. You never know. Will Barter, 44 minutes down.
Cycling's a funny game.
It's possible. Demarchi, he's 49. If they let him up the road, he'd be hard to get the jersey back off. If Demarchi got it with 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And all Snoop Pog needs is one bad day. It's over. It's over. If he blows a gasket on those penultimate stage, and when that sports director's in his ear going, mate, just take it easy. Take it easy this last week. We're all thinking about the tour now.
What about Smakacha?
Smakacha, yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll come up with a plan next step, mate.
I think Pogs, I don't think he's going to blow I don't think he's going to have he's not going to have like one of those days.
Like
he doesn't really.
He
doesn't really have them anyway. Like, he had one last year at the Tour de France where he had a shit day and he blew up to some degree, but he still finished second in the Tour de France. Like he didn't blow catastrophically to the point where he lost 20 minutes. Like and he never has. So it's not going to happen now when he's like so in control. Like the very worst case scenario for him is he does have a bit of a bad day on a final climb or something, and he loses 40 seconds, like to the other guys. What does that matter? It was like Rory McIlroy yesterday in the Wells Fargo Championship where he won. He was 7 shots up going down the 18th, and he won by 5 because he double bogeyed the 18th. But it didn't matter. And like
it doesn't matter. But
do you think
I'd
you could
like
have won
to birdie the last.
Jules?
Yeah.
Do you think you could have still won 7 shots up?
Going down the 18th? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I would have been nervous still.
There was a fair bit of water down the 18th.
What about you, Jonesy?
Oh, absolutely. I would have choked. Absolutely. I used to listen to this Aussie pro did a chat on a podcast, and he was saying, why didn't you make it? Why didn't you make the big bucks? And he goes, mate, the 3-foot putts. He goes, can you putt for $100,000? I can't. That's why I didn't make it. I couldn't hold my nerve.
Yeah.
But what's going on with Israel at the Giro, Bills? You got all the inside mail?
Well, we had a shit first few days. We lost 3 guys in the first 4 days of tour of Giro.
2014 doesn't mean you can't get results. Look at the Green Edge story, mate.
No, exactly. Well, did they get any results? They didn't get any results once everyone went home. They only got them when they had 8 guys there. But
that's true.
we lost Woodsy, and then we lost 2 young guys, Riley Pickrell and Nadav Reisberg, who were doing their first Giro. They were crashed out same day actually. With Nadav broke his hand, and then the other guys had some concussion symptoms. So that was a shame that we've lost them. Obviously, Woodsy was going there to
roll Snoop.
He's won. No, he was going there for stages because he's won a stage in the Vuelta and he's won a stage in the Tour, and he wants to win. He's a bit like Clarkey. He's also at the Giro this year again, trying to win a stage in all 3 Grand Tours. So he was obviously our guy for the breakaway stages as the race goes on in the big mountains, or one of our guys, probably certainly our main guy for those stages. So that's a shame we've lost him, but we've still got. We've got guys there who can win a stage, no doubt about it. Nick Schultz, he's had a fucking awesome year. He's riding really well. He's definitely more than capable of winning a stage. Marco Frigo, the same. The problem is, like, we've brought a team to win stages, and to win stages, if you're not riding GC, it comes from one place, doesn't it? It comes from breakaway. So we have to rely on that happening.
Sparky was looking good Clarkey was looking good the other day, trying to get in the break. He's got the bright red shoes on. He's easy to spot. But was Woodsy planning on riding the Tour as well? And what actually happened to Woodsy? Why did he have to? I saw he was tangled up in a crash, but it looked like he was okay. It was worse than it was it?
Yeah, he wasn't. No, so he was doing he wasn't going to do the Tour. He's always on for the Giro. Like I said, just going for the 3-peat, try to win a stage at all 3. And like we'll take the same approach at every Grand Tour this year, which is just stage wins. But now he crashed, and then he lost a fair bit of skin, which is obviously a pain in the ass. But you kind of punch on through that the best you can for a few days, and it starts to feel a bit better. You know what it's like, Mitch. But he hit his head, and he had some really minor concussion symptoms after the stage. And then they got worse overnight. So he had a concussion. And then, obviously these days you're pretty careful with that sort of stuff now that there's actually some fucking doctors that have studied it and realize that it's quite dangerous. So the team doesn't take any risks in those situations. And it was the same with Riley Pickrell. He was all right too, but developed concussion symptoms overnight. So yanked him out.
Who are the 9 guys going to the Tour then? Do you want to break that?
Yeah, should I just name the squad now?
Yeah,
Oh,
why not?
there's 10 on the list. Should I just give you my 7?
Well, we know George
My
Bennett's
8.
on the list.
Yeah, Bennett's in. Who else
Yeah.
you got?
Build round Bennett. They're the shirts this year.
Yeah. No, we've got a good group of. I mean, Tour de France is the same every year. It's like you get your long list to 10 or 12 guys, and then you see who's going well after Dauphiné and Tour of Switzerland. Then you make your selection.
Did you get? I was just going to say to Mitch, did you ever get close to riding the Tour in your career?
I was close in 2019. I tried to ride with EF. Went exactly like Buell said. Went to Switzerland, tried to have a good ride there, and then did the pre-tour teams time trial camp out of Girona, and then got the call in to the room. Mitch, we have a quick chat, and
this is good. Or was the tone?
I just knew because Lawson got called into the room before me, came out pretty disgruntled. I was like, right. Then the big story starts. And you're like, yeah, righto. I might just, I'll see what's going on here.
Yeah.
The hard thing with the Tour de France selection for any team that's going for stages is like, of course, you have to pick like guys that are in good condition because you can't win a stage if you're not going well. So yeah, that's obviously that's the obvious first selection point. But then you have to look at the stages and go like, okay, where do we predict breakaways to be successful? You know, what's going to be the overline? What's going to be happening at the Tour at this point in the race? What's the GC going to look like? Is this a stage that potentially a guy on third on GC wants to try to set his team up and go on a rampage to try to bring back 2 minutes, or all these other bits and pieces? Like, so where's the race at that point? So what's the chances of a breakaway being successful? If it's not successful, why is it not successful? Is that going to be the same the next day? Blah, blah, blah. And then you have to go, okay, so let's say that is going to be a successful breakaway stage. What's the breakaway going to be like? Who's going to be in it? How big is it going to be? Who do we have that can win in that situation? So like, it's not always about just like, he's going really well, he's going really well, he's going really well. That's the 8 guys. It's like, yeah, he's going really well, but what stages suit him? Are there any? Isn't that how FDJ picked their team? He's going well. He's going well. Yeah, they just pick the first 8 riders from the Nationals, I think.
And most of those riders are like fully primo, and then there's like, all right, let's see how long I can hang on to the form for here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're all 2 weeks out from the Tour.
Yeah, but they get told that, I'm assuming, like, mate, that's whoever's the first top 8. You're like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to be in the best possible form, and I'll just see what happens after that.
Yeah.
Is it hard if you're that fringe rider and you don't get that spot on the Tour for your head not to completely fall off? Or do you look at it as, I had a crack, didn't work this year, whatever? Or is there particular riders that you've seen, if they don't get picked in the Tour, it's like,
oh, yeah,
fuck it, we'll go on a different team?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think guys who, I can only comment from this side. Like, I think guys who hang their hat on like Grand Tour riders, for sure. Like for me, I was more riding on the classics. You guys know that. But so I was like, okay, I've never really fully focused on trying to go for the Tour. In 2019, I was like, from the start of the year, I want to ride the Tour. So I sort of did everything around it. And then when I couldn't make the team, I was like pretty disappointed. But then after that, I was like, I had other goals. I was like, cool, go to the Vuelta and get ready for the classics again. Whereas if you're just a Grand Tour rider and you can't ride the Pinnacle Tour, surely that's got to be disappointing. Like, at the end of the day, it'd be like if I couldn't ride Roubaix. If they said, nah, Mitch, not good enough for Roubaix, mate, I'd be like, bullshit.
The heart, I think that everybody who doesn't, the
best of those riders that get called up when they least expect it, out of sheer panic. We were talking about this, Mitch, about, or Tussle, the bus driver who got
Christian.
in.
Have you heard Christian Meyer's story?
Yeah, he was at a nightclub in Vegas, wasn't he?
He was on a trainer in a hotel in the morning and just like got up in the morning because he didn't have his bike there or anything. And he's like, shit, I better get like just spin on. Like I haven't been riding because he didn't make the selection. So he's like, screw this, let's just get out of here. Then he's on a trainer in the morning and this guy's next to him. He's like, oh, mate, getting a bit of fitness, yeah? It's like, yeah, going for a ride. What's your, or something like, I can't remember how the conversation went, but more or less he asked him, so what's the ride you're doing next? He goes, just actually going to go and do the Tour de France on starting in a couple of days. Goes like, oh yeah, just like me too. I'll see you over there. Ha ha ha. And then he was actually flying to the tour.
Yeah. But that was a chain of events because like Christian wasn't like, he didn't just miss out. Like there was like a couple of guys that was like, he wasn't the first guy they called, I don't think, or he was maybe the first guy they called, but there was like 3 guys that were going to the tour that couldn't go for some reason.
And that's why he was like flown so far away, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
There's just
exactly.
no chance he could get a reserve call.
No, it wasn't like he's like, oh, mate, your first reserve, like keep on it. It was like, you're not going to Tour de France, mate. There's like 3 other guys will take before you. And then they needed all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then they needed Christian as well. He's like, fuck, I'm in Vegas.
And he got through. Like, he got through to the last day. Like, some riders, if they're underdone, there's that one stage, stage 15 or whatever that catches you with your pants down and it's over.
Bills, I want to ask you, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How's the combo going? The winning combo, the Imps Bills combo. You guys are nailing it.
I've got a video of that. I actually did do some prep. This is from Israel. And this is the last bit of
Williams
flesh.
accelerates away.
That's Stevie. That's fucking Stevie. Come on, Stevie! Come on, Stevie!
What a show of power by Stephen Williams as he now goes for glory. Has he gone at the right time?
Come on, Stevie! Come on, Swill! Come on, brother!
Williams has played an absolute blinder today. He's made every single move he has to. Stephen Williams of Israel Premier Tech, only about 100 metres to go. Go!
Come on! Go!
Who's driving the car?
No one.
No! Williams checks one more time. He's being chased and he's being chased hard. Is Williams going to go all the way to the finish? He's almost there now. Here comes the attack behind. Williams of Israel Premier Tech. Can he get to the finish line? Is he going to be caught? Stephen Williams wins Flash Milan.
Cut to the Bills.
Yes! Stevie! Yes!
Yes! Mate!
Yes! That's great in-car reaction. That's got to be up there.
I lost my voice for like 3 days.
Stevie, fucking
I literally couldn't talk. Like,
legend.
That's all right, my man. Great job, brother.
Yeah,
That's so good.
like 3 days later, I said to Daryl, I was like, fuck, you might have to do the radio at Liège. Like my voice was like, still wasn't coming back. I could barely talk. But no, it's been good. It's been good. Me and Daz, like he's been obviously, he did Down Under and then he came over for the Ardennes because he's living in Australia now. So he came over for the Ardennes Classic. So we've done like the races that he's done, we've done together and they've been going well. But I mean, there's I'd like to say like, the Bewley-Impey combination. But at the end of the day, like when you go to races with Stevie, it's much easier to win. But that Flesh win was fucking impressive.
Okay, aside from the actual results and stuff, how's it going in the car? Like, how's he taking it on? Like, both relatively new to the job, and all of a sudden you got to take him under your wing.
He talks a lot, eh?
I do remember this. I remember rooming with Imps one time early in my career, and like, everyone, you come into the room and you're like, oh yeah, you have a chat after the stage, and then you sort of like maybe for an hour or whatever, and then eventually you're like, cool mate, look, I just like want to do my own thing, read my book or do something on my iPad or whatever the hell it is. And I remember sort of trying to get the lappy open, just sort of like half opening it, and he asked me something, half open it, and eventually I was like pulled it open. I was like looked across. I was like, oh, you don't have any extra entertainment, do you? You're just ready for the chat. I was like, down with the lappy. I was like, righto, let's engage. Let's go for it. And it's like, it wasn't a bad thing, but it's just like I wasn't expecting the full night of.
He's like, I think he's really enjoying it as well. Like, so he's like, he's in the team car. He's excited and stuff, which is awesome. Awesome. Sometimes I'm like. A few times I've like I've given him the rude like shh, because I'm just trying to fucking concentrate, or like I'm trying to like listen to the radio tour or something. And I'm like, just stop talking, just for a second. But he's good now. He's taken to it well. I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge when you live in you're not in Europe, like for sure, because like you miss a few meetings or you miss a few calls here and there because of time zones and.
What about the on-the-ground stuff? Like just, that natural stuff you hear from around the traps and you spoke to so-and-so and you don't even think about it until like you're actually like, oh, yeah, I guess if I wasn't here, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, he's still so fresh out of the Peloton. So he's like he's like from a strategic point of view, like he's obviously brilliant, which is great to have in the car because, like, I don't know, for example, like at the Ardennes Classics, I'm DS1, he's DS2. Like it's a number, but it's different roles to some degree. So like only one person can talk on the radio. So I'm talking on the radio at the Ardennes Classics, and you obviously sit down together and before the race and come up with a strategy. Okay, this is how we sort of see things. This is how we want to play things, and then in the race evolves and things change, and you need to make decisions quickly. And that's where it's really valuable, because if you have a guy who's driving the car, and he's focusing on not crashing into the back of the car in front of him or hitting a bunch of bike riders coming back from a piss and all of that stuff, but he's still so naturally he still thinks like a bike rider, so he can make a quick decision like, now we should do it this way. And like 9 times out of 10 you're aligned, but if you're not aligned, someone needs to make a decision. And but because he's strategically so smart, he can say this is why. Like he can add context to everything, and you go, fuck, actually you're
what's an example? We should ride, for instance, or should we get that back? And you're like, nah, mate, just let that go.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any real examples from the races that we've done yet, because we've been quite well aligned. I guess I'll go back to Liège, which was like, this is not really a conversation. We didn't really have a conversation about it, but just from the outside, people watching, there was that big crash, and then we were pulling after that. And this is an example of so that was our strategy, like from the get-go. The pre-race meeting, we said, the Mont Soir is the name of the climb. So coming into Mont Soir is a super, you go up Mont Soir, and then it's a super fast descent. But coming into Mont Soir was where that big crash happened. And then we carried on with our strategy where it was like, we go over Mont Soir in the front of the group, and then as soon as we get to the top of Mont Soir, we ride fucking full gas for 40K. Like through all those climbs. That's the hardest part of the race. So that was always our strategy. And then the big crash happened. And there was this sort of the split second, like look at each other and we're like, fuck it, it's our strategy. Let's just go with it. And we didn't have to have a conversation there, but we were both aligned.
It became your strategy then, you mean? Is that the real story?
No. It was our strategy. And there was actually a point where, because our videographer, he filmed the pre-race meeting. I was like, "Fuck it, just release the pre-race meeting on Twitter, and then they'll see it." Like that was our strategy. But those moments, that was a pretty interesting moment, because obviously we copped a bit of shit on social media. But
so was there a moment in the car where you both looked at each other and went, "Should we go through with this?" And Daz was like, "I don't know, mate," and you're like, "Yeah, let's just do it." Nah,
we didn't really. We never had that moment. We were just well, it was a race is on. That's why there was a crash, because it's like that's the most important part of the race. Every single year, that's where the damage gets done.
So are you hated as a sports director now? Like, be honest. Is there certain teams that after that they go,
no, because
dog?
Because and I said it. I was like the people that gave us a bit of shit were.
You just go, Daryl said.
Yeah, it was all Daryl.
I was
trying to talk him out of it.
Day.
Yeah, I was trying to listen to the radio tour, so I don't know what happened.
By the time Daryl made the call, they'd already committed, so it's fine.
No, because the people we didn't, because what made me feel fine about it, well, I feel fine about it anyway, because it's a racing incident, and I'm strongly about that, is that we didn't cop any shit from our peers. Like there was no other bike riders from other teams who gave a shit. There was no other teams or sports recs that gave a shit. Everybody understands that it was a racing situation. The people that were kicking off were like keyboard Twitter warriors, and
fuck.
I don't really care about them that much, to be honest.
Yeah.
So have you butted heads at any moment where you sort of both went like, nah, I really don't agree, or there hasn't been any moments like that, like back in Down Under or anything?
Nah.
Did
you have that before?
Don't worry about it.
Like with other DSs where you're like, and you just had to bite your tongue and go,
a couple of times. Yeah, 1 or 2 times. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So it does happen.
It does happen, yeah. And the beauty of cycling is there's many ways to skin a cat, and like the real tricky race defining decisions that need to be made from a car are actually quite rare. Like they don't come around that much. Generally it's like, should we ride or shouldn't we ride? Or so it's kind of a situation where there's just 2 different opinions, but not necessarily one is the right one. It's just 2 different ways to do it.
And only after the race you can go, yep, told you so, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But those sorts of decisions are just opinions rather than actually if we do it one way, we're going to fuck it up. And if we do it the other way, we're going to win. Those sorts of moments are pretty rare, But yeah, there's definitely times where I'm not sure if I would have done it like that. But again, it doesn't mean I'm right. It's just different ways. It's just different ways of doing things, different ideas.
Will you and Imps go to the tour?
No, Imps not going. He's doing. He's actually at the training camp now with the guys in Isola. With the, we call it the Tour de France training camp, but it's more just a June training, May training camp. But there's a whole bunch of guys there that, guys that are on the long list of the Tour de France, and these guys that aren't going to the Tour de France, they know that they're going to the Vuelta, but they're just there anyway training. So he's there. Yeah, trying to sneak their way in. But no, he's there with them. He's there with them now doing the training camp. I'm going there.
Who he's rooming with now after that chat?
He's rooming on a couch, I think, in the kitchen. I saw a photo the other day. Yeah.
He's talking to the walls.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No iPad, no lappy.
Yeah.
Chatting away.
Yeah.
You know what? In hindsight, it's actually a really good talent to have. I was just thinking about it. You don't want to be in a room where someone's just you come in, they're like headphones on, and you're like, dude, am I not your roommate?
Yeah.
So I just remember the Green Edge days. There's this sort of underground trading of movies and series that I'd flogged off the internet. It was almost like writers coming going, hey, what do you got? Yeah, I've got a bit of Sopranos action. You seen Breaking Bad? No, what's that about? Oh, mate.
Where you been?
Yeah. And then the worst was when you'd push a film real hard and it was shit. The guys the next day would be like, mate, fucking hell, what were you thinking?
You just got to get past that first hour. It's good, the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. Before we go, Mitch, 10 years since the Giro, 2014.
Yep.
Is that one of the greatest experiences you look back on, the start of the Giro that year?
Well, there's actually a bit of a backstory to this. I wasn't in that team.
Really?
I took Buell's spot.
Ah.
What was I doing?
Because you were in it, and then I was in it, then I got dropped, then you came in, and then you broke your wrist.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got back in, snuck my way back in.
Pays to be persistent, hey?
You never know.
It was probably weirdly one of the grand tours that I speak about most often, because I just had so many ridiculous memories, like we're talking about at the start of this podcast, where stuff was just ridiculous in that race. It was so hard. You were doing stupid stuff, like Swano and I were swapping off one day, and there was group of, I remember it was first me, Whitey just to say it after about, I think it was days 5 or 6, and I hadn't done any work because I was trying to do the lead outs for Matthews, and eventually it wasn't going to be a lead out day. So all right, boys, break goes up the road. Mitch is going to do the brunt of the work today, because guys like Swano and Cam, they could actually control a break on their own, but I'm definitely not that guy. But they were like, well, let's give those boys a rest. Mitch, you just chase the breakaway today.
No dramas.
And I'm like, yeah, right. I sort of felt like, oh, yeah, I can do this. This is pretty good. I'll take the load. Yeah, no worries. Whitey, yep. You get the call in the meeting. Next thing you see, like 14 guys go up the road. You're like,
Oh, shit.
oh, and then we hear on the radio, yeah, righto, Mitch. Up you go, bud. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be like solid. And then FDJ wanted to back for some sprint. So they burnt their whole team trying to get these 14 guys back. And I was like, oh, this is super hard. And then I was chasing first, and then they decided they want to come up. It's like, oh, I don't know if I can hold this. So a whole FDJ team comes up, rips through their whole team doing peelers. Gap doesn't change at all. Yeah, Mitch, right back where you were, mate. Let's just keep this at 3 minutes. I'm like, a whole team just got burnt. How am I supposed to be able to do this? So then eventually the gap's slowly going out. I'm just pretty much ending my whole Giro here, just doing like 500 watt pulls on the front solo. And righto, Swano, go up and help Mitch, will you? And again, every turn I was doing, I was like to Swano, righto, mate, that's my last pull. And you go back in the wheel for a few minutes, you're like, I got one more in me. This is it. This is this is the last one. And you do it, and you same thing over and over. Eventually, righto, Cam, up there, help Mitch. So we're rolling along. I'm like, I'm doing death pulls every time. We get to this climb, and I ride Mitch. Swano, you just have a rest on this climb, will you, mate? And Cam, can you just take a minute out of the break while I'm on this climb? I'm thinking, how am I going to have a rest when Cam's pulling a minute out of the bunch? So I go back. I just like naturally getting dropped to the back of the bunch. Whitey sitting first car there. As I come back past the first car getting dropped, he's like, yeah, good idea, Mitch. Grab some bottles, take them up to the boys.
That's so good.
Look in the car. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm back here for. Yeah, no worries. Get those bottles, get back to last wheel.
The ultimate team, man.
Just stay at last wheel so I just get dropped with 12 bottles. And that was the end of my day. So, yeah. And on to stage 6 it was.
Well, Bling won. Was it stage 6 or stage?
Yeah, that was the one he won.
Yeah.
That was that day when he beat
Cadell.
Oh, yeah. There was a big crash, wasn't there, at the bottom? Was that where Bert and all those guys crashed?
Yeah.
I must have got on the piss hard after stage 5 because I did the classic double banger episode. You know, where you go, nah. They go, where's the backstage going up tonight, mate? You go, nah, mate, double banger. Just merged the two together. Oh, God. They were fucking great days.
There's been some days at the Giro there.
Yeah.
Going back to this year's Giro, before we let Mitch go and bath his children. Who are we picking then? Top 3. First, second, third. Don't think too hard about it. GC.
Poganator. No, I like Snoop Pog. I think that's the name. Yeah, Snoop Pog.
Snoop Pog.
I'm going to go Thomas second. I reckon O'Connor third.
Yeah, I agree.
Looks good. He actually looks good, Ben. He did a really good time trial as well, didn't he?
I think Danny, I like him, but he's gonna fall away.
Who's an Italian smoky that's sort of bopping around 8th?
Taberi.
Yeah. Watch a big Italian shake up after the second rest day.
Zana.
Yeah.
After the
second rest day, those Italians just come to life.
I'm just looking
2016.
I'm just looking at the GC. After I asked that question, I thought I better have a look at the GC. Not to take anything away from the race, but where's my screen gone?
We can see it.
It's not to take anything away from the race. It's not a deep GC field, eh?
No.
It's one of the less deep. It's one of the weakest GC fields.
Vivo is still sitting 15th.
He's the man, Potso. This is 19th Giro or 18th Giro.
Loves it.
It's impressive, eh? 18 Giros.
Hey, Mitch, what do you want to plug before we go, mate? What's happening in the world of life in the Peloton?
Life in the Peloton. This week, I've got an episode coming up about this guy's so ridiculous. This guy called Matt Fairbrother. He bike packs between the EWS. Does anyone know what the EWS is? So it's Enduro World Series.
I know the BWS. Wine Spirits.
The EWS is downhill mountain biking. So there's like the World Cups are like whatever 1,000k away or whatever. He packs up his mountain bike with his full face helmet and everything, and just goes, "Sweet, I'm just going to bike pack to the next series."
Wow.
So it's like us just bike packing to the next World Tour race and then doing the World Tour race.
That's impressive.
It's him, and he does it on his full downhill mountain bike, just like he bobs along at like 12k an hour.
Does he do content, or why does he do that?
Originally, he did it because he didn't have enough money. He was only 19 years old, and he was good enough to do the World Cup. So he flew across to Scotland and was like, "People, is that Scotland?" Like, so how are you getting to the next one? He was like, "Don't know." And then this guy goes to him, Win Masters goes to him. This legend goes, "Hey mate, you should just ride there." He's like, "Yeah, actually, maybe I will." And then that was how I was born.
Really?
So it's pretty epic. It's a really cool story. I was over in Nelson, in the motherland of mountain biking. Just recently, I did he taught me how to ride downhill. Not well. I crashed about 6 times. But the trails over there are...
That's deep in Nelson.
Holy hell. They're just like ridiculous. And the grading category, what they do there is like Australian double black is like maybe a blue in Nelson. And you get over there, we're doing double blacks and stuff. I was just going, "Whoa, what am I doing?" And but those bikes, the bikes save everything. If I didn't, but it was seriously nuts. And hanging out with him was really cool because, I think to do that kind of stuff, you got to be a little bit, I don't know, on the spectrum, but not exactly that. But you got to be a little bit special. And he was really cool. He had a really different outlook on life, and it's really easy going. So that's the episode. I'm just listening to it today, actually. Episode comes out in a couple of days. So sit back, relax, and enjoy that one.
Nice.
Beautiful. Good
I
stuff,
see you've
mate.
put some foam padding on the wall behind you as well to try to get rid of the echo, which I like.
Yeah, this room, unfortunately, I held out for so long. I had this big master plan of building like a studio in my backyard, like an office and everything. And I was just like, yeah, it's not going to get built anytime soon. I think foam padding's the way to go. Cost me a couple $100,
rubber, mate. Perfect.
Order at Amazon.
Job.
Cheaper, mate.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I like
Straight
it.
from China.
It's like it sort of adds like a bit of aesthetics to the room, but it also sort of says like this is a podcast studio.
Can you see it? Look.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I'm fully padded up, mate.
Yeah, perfect. It does make a difference because our listeners demand excellence, and George is always good with that.
Yeah, it's just good to have a third person on the show that's actually got some decent fucking internet.
Hey, well, if you guys wait about 20 minutes, I'll take all these off and then we can hear the difference.
Yeah. All right. All right, guys. Everyone listening to the show, just talk amongst yourselves for 20 minutes. We'll be back shortly.
Yeah.
All right. I seriously got to go. Good to speak
Thanks
to you,
for
boys.
coming on, Mitch.
Thanks, Mitch. You're a legend,
Good
mate.
to see you. Take it easy.
Speak soon.
Adios.
Cheers, mate. Good to hear Mitchie, as you said, Bills. Like, it's just good to hear someone with really good insights.
Yeah, I was thinking about him the other day, actually, Mitch, and I was like, it would have been great if we had, the episode went quite quickly, which is always a good sign. I really enjoyed chatting about the Giro, just catching up with Mitch. It was a bit like a catch up with Mitch, but publicly, which was nice. It would have been great to actually, if we had a bit more time, just to chat about his transition out of cycling as well, because we obviously, although it's been a year and a half or 2.5 years actually for Mitch, I guess. We haven't had him on the show since then, so it would have been great to chat about, the life in the Peloton, the way he's built that brand up. It's a really cool. It obviously started off as a podcast. I remember I was one of his first guests 10 years ago or something at Paris-Nice, when it was just a shoddy fucking project like we are. But he's built it up into into a really, really cool brand, Life in the Peloton. So it would have been cool to have a chat about that. But, I'm sure people who listen to this show listen to the Life in the Peloton as well, so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start tying off some loose ends. I think there's some leftover merch and hats that we're going to really pump. We talk about this when we were doing regular shows. We got merch news. We're going to get this. People just go, you guys are full of shit.
Yeah.
There's a heap of hats that we can offload. So we're going to talk to the guys that are running the store at the Batuta Advocate, and we'll offload the last of the merch and the social distance podcast hats. And then we're going back to bi-weekly, cracking the whip.
Yeah. We'll be back.
Regular routine.
Like, share, subscribe.